Hi, I'm super excited about bringing you this video series. It's focused on high growth to grow your people, to grow your sales. And with me today, I have the absolute honour of having our guest, Grant Holland, aka Dutchy. Welcome, Dutchy.
Thanks, Paul.
So, Dutchy is our high performance coach within SalesStar, and he comes with a formidable track record. So Dutchy, at a very young age, was head of sales for a company called Wormhole, part of the Tyco group back in the day. And he took that company he doubled the revenue in 3 years, took it from about 50 million to 100 million turnover, and did such a great job. He got headhunted for Westpac, and the head of high performance for Westpac New Zealand. And his track record there is he tripled market share within 4 years. And not to mention, Dutchy, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years for us working as our high performance coach, you've made a significant impact with our own clients. We've had clients report record months, like the fastest growth in 3 to 5 months that they've ever seen.
Yes.
And after 12 months, records are smashed with, quite a number of clients that you're working with.
Yes. Yep.
So I guess our viewers out there would be really interested to know, how are you getting that growth? What's the secret in terms of growing these organisations and fast tracking their revenue?
Yeah, good question, Paul. And just sitting here hearing that, it's been fantastic to work with some of our clients, in the last year, and to see them coming out of plateauing for a considerable period of time into record months, and 3 to 5 months, and if they've been with us as long as 12 months, record years. But this is of all their time and of all history, and I think what's put all down to is what I term as performance coaching. And you asked a question, or if you'd be thinking about what's performance coaching. I think a couple of points. The first thing with performance coaching is that it's, if you think of a performance pathway,
yep.
I'd say performance coaching, or in the training development piece, is the last step or two. Whereas what I see up there is a lot of organisations think it's the first step and the only step. And I think that sadly with that, they're missing out. They're missing out on things like assessing, where are the gaps. They're not thinking about processes and systems. They're not thinking about the leadership. They're not thinking about the mindset. So again, just jumping straight to developing and coaching.
I challenge you on that. Do you think most companies coach their team on a regular basis? Do you see enough of that?
No, they don't. But but they want to jump to straight to training, and let's go straight to the closest thing to getting results. So the high performance coaching piece for me is, I describe it really in two parts, right? So the first part, for me is around getting really clear on your sales process. If it's sales we're talking about,
critical.
Yep. Goals, plans. So those are some of the system areas and process areas. The other area that I think is really critical for high performance and performance coaching is then helping the teams or the people to get the skills and the mindset to go and get growth results. So two parts really, and so you can't do one without the other, or just one.
You've already mentioned like 4 components before training. You mentioned the plan, the process, which is the framework you're going to coach on.
Yeah.
Like, how many companies before we engage don't have a process, and they expect us to train and coach on what? Everyone's got their own different processes. Very hard to coach on high performance. But then you also mentioned mindset and training. So, do you find that a lot of companies who are expecting growth or are stuck, you mentioned stagnant, in terms of growth, is the CEO's go-to lever training? And, just giving companies training alone, what's the implications of just doing that?
Well, if you're not focused on the gaps, how do you know which, you've got a whole lot of levers sitting there that you could grab hold of and pull, and training, instinctively feels like the right one to pull to get, results. But if you go upstream from stagnant results or poor sales results, what's upstream from that? I say that's you look to your pipeline, and upstream from that, so if your pipeline's in good shape and size, and you're squeezing that through, so I'm seeing not seeing that, and if upstream from that, activity, target market, we mentioned the mindset and the skills, the whole lot's underpinned by a sales process. And sadly, early on, I'm seeing companies that are struggling to get growth or get out of the plateau. They that have an ineffective sales process, or they don't have one at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I shouldn't be laughing, but it is laughable,
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It's the sharp end of any business.
Yep.
But the statistics show that 95% of companies do not have an effective sales process. So, how can you expect to get those amazing results and scale your business in a consistent way?
Absolutely. I mean, so I guess if you see it from the top down, I'm seeing owners and CEs wanting to get sales growth and growth results for their business, but they're not seeing it. I'm seeing sales managers who are just unaware, and maybe not their fault, but they're unaware of what it takes and how to lead getting sales results and getting growth results. And I'm seeing sales teams, out there on the front line, business development, key account management, sales. I'm seeing them going to market with a lot of passion, which is fantastic. But, they're leading with product and or price. And so you can see where that heads to pretty quickly. They're getting hammered, right? They're getting compared to everyone else on me too, so can I, or the price. And I think it's probably sad that again, no fault of their own, they don't know the best way to sell in B2B or high-end B2C. So that's what I'm seeing out there. The summary of all that is people wanting to get results but not getting growth results across all those levels.
So let's maybe just flip that back to some of the clients you've been working with in SalesStar over the last 4 years or so. What's the secret to success? Like outstanding growth over 3 to 5 months, and then best sales results year on year, and in very mature businesses, right? Some of these businesses have been around for 50 odd years.
Yes, yep.
For the viewers out there that might be interested in maybe the secret herbs and spices, what sort of information could you share with them to, paint a picture in terms of how you've got those results?
Yeah, great way to put it, Paul, the secret herbs and spices. And, I was just saying, someone earlier today, we see a lot of this sort of material going out, content, podcasts and whatever, and you're watching someone for 15 minutes and they say, I've got the secret and all the research in the last year and the last 5 years and what have you, and 15 minutes later they still haven't given it. Well, we're not going to do that. Let's just go and do it.
Let's do it. Look down that barrel of the camera and tell them.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's go.
So here's the secret to getting 13 businesses in the last 12 months across 4 or 5 different industries to record months. And I say 3 to 5, most of them are in 3 months, but I'll say 5 because the occasional one is taking just that little bit longer. And it's these two things. Number one is once you've built a sales process that everyone's locked and loaded into and agrees they'll follow, is go deep on it. So spending several months, or at least a couple of months, going into understanding all those steps and putting it into the language that the team are going to use, and they know it and they can hit it out of the park. They believe in it, they're confident in it. So that's what I mean when I say go deep into the sales process. The second thing is you can't leave this out. Whoever's going to lead sales, the sales manager, the CEO, doesn't matter. Let's develop them into these key areas, right? Sure, they've got to have some goals and some plans, but then let's get into their ability to be able to leverage and work a pipeline, to be able to backwards plan from goals to success. So these are the KPIs. To be able to forecast properly, run really, really good sales meetings that lead to results. One-on-ones the same, and finally coaching. There it is. Wow. That's the formula. That's how you do it. We didn't hold back. Don't have to wait 16 minutes and get bored and move on. That's how we do it, Paul.
I'm sure there's a few viewers out there that are more interested in diving deeper and, exploring maybe one of the questions they have on their mind, in fact, and that was brilliant, by the way, is what is the sales process? How do we articulate that?
Yeah. Yep. So a sales process should be able to be on a one-page document that you can look at. It'll have several phases from generating a lead all the way through to getting in front of the clients, through to presenting and proposing, closing, account management and beyond. Right. So there'll be some distinct phases. There'll be some key steps in there that if they hit those, they will improve their chances of success. Miss them at your peril. That's a sales process. And bringing it to life for an organisation is getting everyone in, or a good cross sample of everyone in, and saying, right, well, what's the best thing to do? Let's say I'm going to ring you and I really want to get some of your precious time as a target market audience. How am I going to do that? How am I going to get through that couple of minutes best? How am I going to ensure that meeting is not only sticky for me, but you're actually looking forward to, that you value it and you're looking forward to spending that time. So, compare that to just doing your best or not having a process at all. Methodology within a process. I mentioned, salespeople, not their fault, but a lot of them not knowing what is the best way to sell B2B. Well, you can bury that, where you can ingrain that and embed that right through your sales process. A really, really cool story, a workshop I did late last year in an organisation that was exactly, in the symptom. They were plateauing, right? They wanted the results. They sort of had the owner and CE, and they had a really up and coming strong sales manager and leader, but had all those issues. And so yes, we went and we built a process. We also built a plan and some goals. And at the workshop, we looked at some of those things upstream. We looked at the mindset and we looked at the skills, and we were able to sort of look at that as a picture and say, okay, in X amount of months' time from now, this is how long it will take to fix those, if you like, get those right, get those really humming. So we were able to predict a record month from plateau to a record month in X amount of time. And so we said it would be at the end of month 4, and they did it a month earlier. So how cool is that? Great. And that's just reverse engineering, right?
And how do you think the client, the business owner feels once they've got a predictable pipeline? What's the results there?
Well, let's use their words. That's absolutely changed their business. It's transformed their business, and they just want to keep going like that.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Hey, just digging into the process, because you mentioned the key phases in the process. Then you mentioned methodology, which is sprinkled through that sales process. Is there any sort of, through that methodology, is there any one thing that stands out to you in terms of the science that we bring into the sales methodology that's helped really double conversion ratios for your clients?
Yep. So it kind of starts with either pain or gain, which a lot of people are familiar with that now.
Yep.
But also being able to understand the impact of that. And the gold in that I see is that then you can find out a material or a cost to the pain or the gain. So that's something that's either on the table that they're missing out on. And then of course, if you can fix that and you can show a 5, 10, 100 times return on that investment, then it's a no-brainer. Then you've got a conversation that a client appreciates and wants to see through.
That's impressive. Great results. Appreciate you sharing that. There's one more thing that I've got on my mind right now. So we've talked about the plan, we've talked about the process and the pipeline and the methodology. I'm going to circle you back to one other thing that you mentioned, because I don't think we should discount this. And I think it attributes a lot to success. I don't know if you know what I'm thinking right now.
Mindset.
100%. Talk to me about mindset, because I know that you've coached elite athletes on the world stage. In fact, what you need to know about Dutchie is he's one of the highest ranked karate referees in the world. I think you're a fifth dan, fifth dan. So FYI, no back talk to Dutchie. He'll give you a karate chop.
No problem.
But what are there parallels to top sports people and top sales people? When they're executing, because so much could be said about skills and training, and then performance coaching.
Yeah.
But talk to me about, maybe it's that top 6 inches that can take you from, average Joe to one of the elite top performers out there.
Yeah, what I love about this, Paul, is did it come from sport or did it come from business? When I was talking to sport people, and they have got the skill. Arguably when they're on the some of those stages, the world stage, then they've got the best skill available on the planet. So we can put skill aside and say it's probably not that. But when I was talking to sports people, I was saying we'd normally talk about what business does, and then it went, when you're talking to business, they like to hear, well, what are sports people doing, because they know that they've got the mindset. So which it is at the moment, doesn't really matter. But what we're seeing out there, and I love about sales and business, is this. It's exactly the same from sport to business. Is they may have the skill, or they may have learnt what it is they need to do or say in the moment, but they won't if this, or combination of this is going to hold them back.
Yeah.
So, that business I spoke about last year, there were two of the guys on the team that were still struggling. Some of the team was starting to race away with the process, having some of these conversations, doing some of these things that were quite new, and wow, what a change for them, and they were getting success. And I could see a couple of them were still getting knockbacks. And what we found out, it wasn't the words or the process, it was in here, in the moment, when someone gave them a little bit of pushback, or they got a little bit, that doesn't, that's not what I'd normally do, or something in their head holding them back, they wouldn't say it, or they wouldn't execute on it. So that's what we addressed then, and they could see, why can't I do that? Manage that, yes I can, now I go and do it, and they're away and they've had the breakthrough. So ignore the mindset, and people will say, I'm good at that, I got that covered, but they won't do it in the moment, or may not do it.
So they don't often do it in the moment, and obviously that leads to poor execution of a strategy. Yeah. So what would you say mindset overall attributes to sales success?
Well, if mindset gives you the permission or the access.
Yes.
So
and confidence.
And the confidence.
Yep.
That's a great word for it. So without that, you got nothing. That's your starting point. So why would you go without a starting point? You'll end up nowhere.
Okay. Touchy, that's gold. We're going to wrap it up just with one more question, if you may. Now, if you're talking to a growth-minded CEO that's struggling and perhaps a little bit frustrated with the lack of results that they're getting, and they don't really know how to get better performance out of their sales team, what would you say to them?
I'd say look for an organisation like a SalesStar, or just get clear on what it is that it takes for the front line, for the team, and for systems and processes to get you to high performance. And that'll often mean trusting in and opening up to bringing someone in from the outside who's expert at it, who's done it before, and who will and can help.
And the thing that's circling around in my mind right now is sales leaders out there will be saying, I don't have time to coach. So how much time should they allow, and what would you say to that comment?
Yeah, look, it can be frightening, but they don't. The opposite is they don't have to, they can't afford not to. The leverage of 1 to 2 or 3 or 8 or 10 versus them carrying on, putting up the fires all the time, they're just going to keep banging their head against the wall. I see that so often, week in, week out, and they just can't. They can't run any harder. They can't run any faster. So how are they going to leverage their way out of it? So yes, I know it sounds daunting, probably looking at how they're doing things now. Just reshape it, right? Get some leverage, and coaching will be the way to unlock, multiple people, not just themselves, and the pendulum will turn pretty quick for them.
So tell me a little bit about the coaching methodologies or the types of coaching. You know, should it be you're setting regular time aside, or you're going out in the field? So you're coaching that you can coach your people, you know, in-house. Tell me a little bit about your experience around there.
Really good questions, Paul. So, you know, when I mention coaching, and it is probably pretty broad, you've got coaching in more formal scenarios in one-on-ones, right? You've got opportunity around pipeline, you've got opportunity around their development, you've got opportunity around any of the key levers, you know, even the process, their skills, their behaviours. So that's really good in a setting of one-on-one. You've still got coaching in sales meetings, you know, it might be 8 or 10 other people hanging around, so I might not be able to go as deep, but coaching and there looks like developing the team. And certainly, you know, out and about in the field, you've got coaching beforehand. You know, there's some really good coaching around, you know, prior to people heading out and trying to conquer their day or the world.
So pre-call strategy, trying to get them in the right mindset.
Yep, what's the
making
mindset?
Sure there's strategies in place.
Absolutely right. Strategy. What are the objectives? What questions are we going to ask? Rather than just winging it. And then, you know, post-call. And, you know, just taking those little increments. This is unlocking people's potential in the right way. Is, you know, just 1, maybe 2, maximum 3 things that that both people want to work on or have observed out of the meeting that you can get better at, right? So post call, and you know what? If a sales manager or sales leader can't be in the geography or in the room with them to observe, it still works to go pre and post, doesn't it, right? Because if you were coaching me, you could ask me before I headed out for the day, Dutchie.
What are the objectives?
Yeah. What and if Paul, I haven't got any. Right? So I'll soon sharpen that up.
Yeah.
What are my objectives? What are some of the questions? What insights am I going to bring? Right? I can't do that on the fly. I've seen the best fail at that. And in post call, or maybe even towards the end of the week, I might have done 3 or 4, and you could post call coach without even having been there. Dutchie, win, learn, change. Tell me in your behaviours what went really well. And guess what I've got to do? I've got to do all the thinking. I've got to remember, I've got to think what I did well, and what that does is it allows me to go, well, you might say, Dutchie, keep doing that. Now the learns, right? What were the rich things that came out of it? And let's not forget wins first, because otherwise in nature I might jump to the things that I didn't do so well. And that lets me know, you know, well, okay, I've got to do something a bit differently. So win, learn, change. Next one like that. What will you do differently? What will you bring to the table? What will you change? And so again, all you're doing is asking, because you weren't there. I'm thinking. And then I'm coming up with the answers. So how cool is that I'm actually really at times doing some thinking. Might be a few beads of sweat coming off from the thinking, but that's how you, through your coaching, I'm unlocking my potential, because I'm actually answering everything myself, putting that in play and getting better.
That was a gold nugget. Like, we gave away the coaching, one of our many coaching frameworks, which was win, learn, change. But what I really want to hit home here is the importance of that Socratic questioning.
Yes.
So, you know, there might be some other attributes around being a good coach. I perhaps will get you to share, but and the importance of that Socratic method is obviously to have people have that experiential learning where they have to think through for themselves, because so many leaders out there, sales leaders, say, watch me, son, this is how we do it, or do you know what you did wrong? I'll tell you. So people don't actually learn from that. So that's why that's such a critical part of coaching, right? Is that Socratic questioning. What else is critical when it comes to your attributes of coaching?
Yeah, and I think that kind of sales leader will forever be the one who's stuck where we said, right? They'll either have to be out there doing all the numbers themselves, because people aren't going to pick up on it. Look, it's that ask versus tell, and that real being comfortable with sitting back, having heaps of capacity, and letting the coachee come up with the answers. If they can't, no problem. You can say, you can write in. Might sound like, hey, well, it's something I've noticed or something that I would do if they're lost. So it'll never end, at a miss. So I think, asking versus telling is a major attribute, and thinking, an intent about unlocking, as I said, unlocking this person's potential, not how great you are.
Fantastic. Okay, that was absolutely gold dust from our head coach, the one and only Dutchie.
Thanks, Paul.
So I really appreciate you coming in and sharing those gold nuggets.
Mm.
I'm sure our viewers out there would have learned a thing or two about high performance coaching and getting the best of their team to rapidly scale their business. And so we do appreciate your time and coming here and sharing that experience. So appreciate that.
Great, you're welcome, Paul. Thanks, everyone.